I'm John Cussans. I work at NIAB as a weed management specialist there, and we're in our site at Fordham near Newmarket, looking at a population of herbicide resistant field poppy, but specifically looking about how we can sustain broadleaf weed management. I think all of us, so I introduced Steve Cramwell from DuPont and Stuart Jackson from Dow AgriScience and Iain Ford from BASF. We've come together here, facilitated somewhat by NIAB, to talk about our shared concern that we really need to get messages out there about sustainable broadleaf weed management. We all feel, coming together, that now is the time to promote these strong messages about how we need to really step up our attention to detail with weed management against broadleaf weeds. And if we can do that now, we're going to really prevent these species from going on in the future to becoming problems, and sustain the chemistry that we've got available to us now in the future. So we're here at Fordham today, and we've done a whole series of events this week, really trying to get across some very strong messages about sustainability in terms of broadleaf weed management. We're focusing on 4 elements, the first of which is to emphasise that people need to step up their surveillance, their understanding of what weeds they've got in the field, to be aware of what herbicide resistance is around in the UK, and if necessary, if they identify problems early on, to target them very carefully and to change their agronomy to reflect that. I think that the second message really comes down to one of effective control. High abundance of weeds, particularly the weeds which we know in the UK we've got issues around, poppy and mayweed and chickweed in particular. We must keep the abundance of these weeds down in the field. High population level is a raw material for selection to go on and get herbicide resistance. So we do emphasise effective control rather than taking away selection pressure. The third element of these 4 is all about timing. Timing of application relative to the weed size, so understanding weed growth stages, how the selectivity of different herbicide changes as you go through weed growth stages, but also the key focus for the contact materials which we've got here on the site is to get control early on, small weeds, early growth stages while they're growing actively. So timing is around the conditions on application to make sure you've got active growth, but also around making sure that you've got the right weed growth stage to still have good herbicide performance from your product. And then the fourth message is really about modes of action. We know that herbicide resistance affects specific modes of action, and we know that one of the key planks of a resistant management strategy is to combine different modes of action into a program, perhaps including some control in the autumn using soil residual activity, as well as control in the spring perhaps with more contact material, but really to think not about throwing products at the problem, but about combining different modes of action of herbicides to get really effective control in the long term.
The key objective of the trial was to get some very clear messages about how to manage not just resistant weeds but also broad spectrum of weeds. DuPont have been in the market now for 35 years selling a group of chemistry called sulfur and ureas, which have a very broad spectrum of control. Different blends come together to target particular weed spectrums. But it's an interest of all companies to make sure that we have sustainable strategies, and we've lost a lot of actives over the last few years, and it's important that we use the products we now currently have available, and those which are left, in the best way that they can be adopted for optimising overall broadleaf weed control. This site is particularly focusing on poppy and resistant poppy, and we've always been very consistent that you need to start addressing that problem in the autumn, and so the use of products such as pendimethalin are a very good start to any sustainable management programme. And then looking at the options in the spring, looking at what weeds you have in the field. Don't just consider resistance in isolation, because obviously you have to deal with a whole range of different weeds in different parts of the country. But the appropriate use of the right products used in the right way are the best chance of getting a sustainable future, that we can retain the chemistry that's available today and the long-term future sustainability of agriculture.
Where you're in a resistant situation or you suspect you're in a resistant situation, the product should always be used as part of a programme, and that programme should use alternative modes of action which are effective against the target species. So in this particular case, being as we're looking at poppies, we should start with a pendimethalin application applied in the autumn, and that all applications of products should be applied at the conditions which are right for the particular active ingredient. So when it comes to the arolates being applied in the spring, we know it is less temperature dependent than the other active ingredients. The key thing is to target the application when the weeds are small and actively growing.
Value of the field here we've seen at Fordham is to see how different active ingredients work for poppy control, and from a range of the trials we've seen the benefits certainly of pendimethalin. Pendimethalin is probably one of the strongest cereal herbicides against poppies. It has very strong innate activity, and also the active ingredient gives good residual activity to control late germinators. So the objective of our trial was actually to show different dose rates of pendimethalin applied at different timings in order to see how the product works in the best conditions. We also included picolinaphen in the trial as well, because this is a very complementary active ingredient to pendimethalin, because it works both contact and residual activity, and also to give effective control of poppies. So we had good control from pre-emergence applications of both Stomp Aqua and Picona. The control fell away slightly when we looked at the post-emergence applications. So again, it just reinforced the messages of using different modes of action to control the poppies and make sure we get the timings right.